Today I'm going to present to you a cheap, simple to make and effective tool that you can add to your collection. The Speed Loader by MrFlippant. .3D printed tools are a novel thing, especially when they help you operate your 3D printers. In this video, I'm going to try and convince you to make this handy tool and show you how to do it step by step. So previously, I purchased myself a Prusa XL and it cost me quite a lot of money. After some upgrades and extra effort, it prints pretty well, although it still has more stringing with the same filament than any of my other printers. Maybe it's sunk cost fallacy, but I am determined to use it more, and that means doing some upgrades. One limitation is its inability to do filaments at warp, unless you spend quite a lot of money on the enclosure kit, so I'm considering either designing my own, or more likely, making this version by Voxel 3D Nederland. And I can see that there's quite a lot of other accessories made for this, so I'll probably at least start with this design and get the paid version to unlock step files if I want to remix. One thing this design won't change, and one thing that's always annoyed me about the XL, is the long PTFE tubes for filament loading. You have to reach around the side of the machine and push the filament through a pretty rigid filament sensor and then through another meter or so of tubing. This is particularly frustrating for flexible filament, as the resistance of the second filament runout sensor inside the printhead is too much to overcome winding from the outside, so you need to disconnect the tube, pull out some extra filament, and then manually feed it into the top of the tool. To the rescue is this Bowden Speed loader, designed for the XL and other Prusa machines by MrFlippant. And thanks to my patron Derek for discovering this and telling me about it. What we have here is a very simple and cheap tool to build, and even easier to use anytime you're trying to feed filament through a long PTFE tube. As can be seen from the demonstration video on the Printables webpage, the tool will automatically activate when you close it to clamp the filament, feeding it through the tube much faster than you can achieve by hand. And when you're done, you simply loosen your grip and it will deactivate. Just a really clean, simple solution worth building yourself. As well as that neat demonstration video, we have thorough instructions with a bill of material from 2 different sources, assembly instructions, and a simple wiring diagram to help you get the thing together and working. Even if you don't have a printer like the XL with overly long PTFE tubes, I still think this is a worthwhile tool for other applications, like transferring filament between spools. So with that in mind, let's proceed. Let's start with gathering our non-printed materials, and there's links to get these on Amazon or AliExpress, but if you're like me, you might already have most of them. The only thing I needed to purchase was the geared DC motor, and if you are ordering one of these, try to match the specs listed on the Printables page. If you're in my part of the world, I've linked an equivalent below from JCar Electronics, which is working a treat. At first, I thought I had gotten something too small, but when I put a 9-volt battery next to it, the proportions match the images on Printables. The next thing you'll need is a set of dual drive extruder gears. If buying, again, this is inexpensive, but in my case, I had a drawer full of old extruder parts, including an old Prusa Mark III extruder. If recycling, you'll need everything that you see here. The drive gear with a 5mm bore and grub screw, and then the idler gear with a shaft and 2 bearings to support it. Next, you will need a limit switch, and again, this is something I had a lot of spares for. These are used as end stops on 3D printers, and there's normally one hidden inside these cheap filament runout sensors. If you're wondering about dimensions, you'll need one that's approximately 20mm long, 6mm wide, and around 10mm tall, not including the lever arm and contacts. And in case yours is like mine and only has 2 contacts, the ones you need are normally open and common. That means that the circuit is completed when the top of the switch is pressed, which is exactly what we need to complete this project. Finally, you'll need a 9-volt battery clip to go with the 9-volt battery, and 3 M3x10mm screws. You'll also need a pair of M2 screws, and in my case, a pair were included with the motor. Now onto the printed parts. And we have 2 body parts, a drive shaft adapter, a lever arm, and a directional arrow. You'll note for the main body top, there's a version for a screw hinge and a version for the filament hinge, and I accidentally printed the filament hinge version, and that worked just fine with screws. All of these parts I printed in PLA, which I think is definitely up to the task, and I didn't need to apply support material for any of them. This body top part looks like it needs support on the underside, but the reality is you can get away with some messy bridging here because this is just a cavity for the 9-volt battery and it won't be seen from the outside. The other half of the body optionally can be set up for multicolor. If we print it as is without making any changes, the bottom surface will be flat without any logo, But instead in the slicer, if we right click and then split the part into objects, this single part will then be split into 14 smaller parts, and we can change the filament for all of them except part 1, which means when we slice we get a 2-color effect. Another thing that you can do, which is what I did, is to delete all of these parts except part 1, removing the geometry that makes up the second color and giving us an embossed logo instead. Either way, once printed, you can do a quick test to make sure the 9-volt battery fits behind the lip, the geared DC motor fits in its cavity, and the micro switch is a snug fit as well. Finally, put on the top lid part of the body and push down so everything snugly fits together. The first time you do this, you might need to massage the lid into place to make sure the top of the micro switch is correctly aligned with the cavity. The next 2 parts are correctly oriented but have quite a small footprint on the bed, so it's possible you'll need a brim, and you'll probably want to test that the drive shaft adapter fits snugly over the output shaft of the geared motor. The final arrow part does need to be dual color, but you don't need a multi-color printer. All you need is a simple filament change from layer 3. This is a very quick print, so I experimented with a few different color variations. That's all the parts, so we move on to our assembly and start with the wiring. This is incredibly simple to wire, you pretty much can't get it wrong. Both the connections for the motor as well as the micro switch are non-polarized, which means you can't get the wiring backwards. As long as you can trace a path from one of the battery leads through the motor and then through the switch back to the other battery lead, you'll be good. There was one additional step for me, and that's that my motor, sourced locally, only had the option of 6 volts rather than 9 to match the battery. My solution for this is incredibly crude. A couple of diodes placed in series, with each of them lowering the voltage the motor sees, which hopefully means I won't burn it out. Now that motor has extremely tiny terminals, and rather than try and solder to this and melt the plastic around, I'm going to do something a little bit different and used a bent over DuPont jumper wire, fed through the loop and then squeezed down with pliers. This can swivel, but trust me, there's electrical contact in any position. To prevent any chance of a short, I've then got some heat shrink over the top that yes, I did too much on. This gives a flexible joint that will help with the tight compartment you're about to see and lowers the risk of damaging the motor. To help with packaging, I bent the terminal sideways on the micro switch, and I will reiterate that it is very tight, the space available for this, and my double diode didn't help with that either. So I would recommend preparing and potentially soldering each connection in place to make sure you're not going to have any excess wire and that everything's going to reach. When everything's connected, of course you should press the switch and make sure that the motor is turning. Following this, tuck in the wiring as best as you can and introduce the top cover, again poking any errant wires until they slip into a convenient position. Test none of your connections have broken by pressing the switch, and then use the 3 M3x10mm bolts to cut their own thread and hold the 2 halves together. We're almost at the finish line and we're going to insert our 2 needle bearings, followed by the shaft through the middle inside our idler gear, and we're going to make sure the gear is facing the skinny end of this lever. You can always reference the picture on printables if needed. Once facing the right way, you're simply going to press and click the shaft into position in the printed lever. Make sure it spins freely and then add the lever to the body parts. Here's where the M2 bolts are introduced from each side, cutting a thread into the bosses on the lid as they go, and it's important not to do these too tight as you want the lever to be able to flap up and down without much resistance. Check that pressing the lever engages the motor and that it disengages when you let go. The second last part is our drive gear, but as you can see the shaft diameter doesn't match, but don't worry, we have a printed part for that. One end of the adapter is closed and we're going to insert that into the end that grips the filament. Make sure you have the flat aligned with the grub screw and then simply push down against a table to get it in the whole way. This part now slides onto the output shaft of the motor and we can tighten the grub screw. As you can see, when we close the lever, the switch activates the motor, the teeth engage and our filament will be driven. The very last component is the directional arrow, and the reason this is separate is that it means we can pay less attention with the wiring. Press the lever, observe which direction the motor is turning, and then place the arrow to match the way the filament will move. You can then use super glue if required to put the arrow permanently into position. Before we test this out, I'd just like to point out that there's a few remixes on printables that might take your fancy. For instance, a magnetic version for easier storage, a version to take 18650 rechargeable cells, storage bins, versions with filament guides, and a not safe for work version which I'll let you look up yourself. It's always the sign of a good design when people see the value and customize it to suit their specific needs. So back to testing this out on the XL, and we first need to load the tip of the filament, in this case a rigid filament in PETG, and then align the dual drive around the filament in the hobbed section. Push the lever down, the filament is clamped and driven through the PTFE tube. The motor does slow down as more torque is required as friction builds up towards the end of travel, but there was still enough available to push it the whole way in. Unloading is just as easy. We rotate the tool 180 degrees to reverse the direction of travel, and the only thing I'll say is you need to manually spin the spool to stop the filament from shooting off and getting tangled. So far so good, but what about flexible filament, which honestly is a pain to load? Here you're seeing my first test of 95A TPU, which is pretty typical. Again, I start by wiggling the filament past the first filament runout sensor, and as I introduced the loader I was a little bit skeptical, but to my great surprise it worked absolutely flawlessly. My only warning is to make sure that you have the loader right next to the tube, otherwise it'll just bend in front of it. But assuming you do this, pushing this floppy filament to the tool will be straightforward. And as you can see, the filament makes it the whole way to the tool with minutes to spare compared to doing it manually. As for my Prusa XL, unfortunately it's broken down again. The same problem has come back where the extruder steppers just don't turn. For instance, right now it thinks it's loading filament, but nothing is happening. Last time the fix was a factory reset and running through all of the calibrations again, but clearly something underlying is wrong, so I think this would be a waste of time. Since then, I've had a random firmware crash when the printer was just sitting there idle, and after a reboot, I've noticed that tool 3 is lit up blue or not lit up at all, and it's now completely missing from the tool selection menu. Prusa have offered for me to swap for a new machine, which I hope is more reliable, and when they get the old one back, they can hopefully diagnose exactly what's gone wrong. If you're building this from AliExpress parts, it's going to cost you under $10. It's going to be super cheap to make. And I think it's worth having sitting there for that one time that you'll need it, and it will save you a lot of frustration. And if you do make it, make sure to leave a like and a comment for MrFlippant so they feel appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy 3D printing tools.
G'day, it's Michael again. If you like the video, then please click like. If you want to see more content like this in future, click subscribe and make sure you click on the bell to receive every notification. If you really want to support the channel and see exclusive content, become a patron. Visit my Patreon page. See you next time.